video number 33 for cello players. And in this video, we are going to learn to play number 42 in your book. This is O MacDonald Had a Farm. So be open to page number 14. But of course, first we're going to kind of look at the tricky spots in this song. We'll do a little bit of echoing. And then by the end of this video, we're going to be playing it together with the My EE library. Okay? So the first thing that I want you to do, there's a tricky rhythm in here. And we're going to play it, and then we're going to talk about where it is. I want you to play this. I want you to do D, open D, and then rest twice, and then play open D again. Okay? Don't echo just yet. I'll tell you when to go. It's going to go like this. D, rest, rest, D. Okay? You turn our metronome on. I want you to try that now. 1, 2, right, say, and go. D, rest, rest, D. Now I want you to add one more D to that, like this. D, rest, rest, D, D. And ready, and go. D, rest, rest, D, D. Okay? Now I want you to go same rhythm, but do G, rest, rest, D, G. Not going to be easy, but you can do it. G, rest, rest, D, G. Try that. Echo me. I'll tell you when to go. G, rest, rest, D, G, and ready, and go. G, rest, rest, D, G. Try it again. With me this time. Go G, rest, rest, D, G. Now, some people, when they play this, they go G, rest, rest, D, G. Remember, a quarter rest has to get one full beat of silence. Okay, very often people rush through the rest, meaning they don't give it quite enough time. Now, let me show you where I found that. I want you to find the last measure of the first line. Remember how I had you play D, rest, rest, D? Well, there's your rhythm, but the notes are G, rest, rest, D. Now the last thing I had you play was G, rest, rest, D, G. Well, what happens at the end of this line? You see a repeat sign, right? This is the first time we're not repeating the entire song. You're only repeating the first line. So when you do that repeat, look what you're going to do. This is the last measure of the first line. G, rest, rest, D, G back at the beginning. See that? Okay? Now let's try the first two measures only. We're learning this kind of a strange order, so you have to trust me on this. Measure 1 and 2 only. You shouldn't have a problem with this. It'd be pretty easy for you. 1, 2, G finger down, and ready to go. G, 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 D, E, E, D, rest. Try it again. G finger down, measure 1 and 2. With me and go. G, 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 D, E, E, D. Now, people very often mess up in measure 3. Measure 3 and 4 are pretty easy. B, B, A, A, G, rest, rest, D. B, B, A, A, G. Down a scale, right? Well, the reason people mess up, 2 reasons, kind of like with Mozart melody. They're not thinking ahead, and they're not realizing, oh, I gotta switch strings. So try measure 3 and 4 and get that rest correctly in measure 4. Play it with me. Measure 3 and 4 and ready and go. B, B, A, G, rest, rest, D. Try that again. See if you get your open D exactly when I play mine. If not, you're probably playing it too early. Be it exactly with mine. Our metronome's going to help us rest, rest. Okay? Try it again. Measure 3 and 4 and ready and go. B, B, A, G, rest, rest, D. Now, I want you to play the whole first line twice. Just like when we're doing the whole thing, because it has a repeat sign, right? So we play line 1 and then we play line 1 again. Okay? Now the tricky part is going to be going back to the beginning. Okay, be ready for measure 3 and be ready for the rest and be ready to go back to the beginning and you will get this right. Very beginning, G finger down and right, say, and go. G, 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 D, E, E, D. Look ahead, be ready for B. B, B, A, G, rest, rest, D, beginning, G, 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 D, E, E, D, rest, B, B, A, G, rest, rest, D, okay? Now, look at the second line. Guys, if you didn't get the first line, pause the video at this point and practice the first line, okay? If you did, go ahead and go on with me. Look at the second line. Look how many G's there are. Like, oh, this is easy, this is easy. Well, it can be easy, but if you don't really follow along in your music, you're not gonna play that last note at the correct time. Look at the very last note of the second line. It's not a G, it's a D, okay? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to play measure 3 and 4 of the second line, and you're gonna play it with me, okay? And if you finish before me, you didn't play enough G's. Measure 3 and 4 of the second line. G finger down, red, say, and go. G, 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 D. Okay? Now, very likely, if you finished before me, you didn't play enough G's, or maybe you just went too fast. That's a possibility. Now, how many G's are in a row there? There are 7. But I don't want you to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I want you to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now, why am I doing that? That is the beginning of each measure. When we are counting, you need to get used to counting the first note or rest in a measure. The first thing in a measure is going to be beat 1. No matter what the time signature, the first note or rest, first thing in a measure is going to be beat 1. All right? Now, you might think, I'm just going to count to 7. Well, you can, and it might help you do this song right, but you're not training yourself for future songs that have more difficult rhythms. So do yourself a favor and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay? There's a joke that says musicians can't ever count higher than 4. Well, we can, but mainly because a lot of times we always count to 4 and we just start over again. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now look at your last line. The last line is just like the first, without the tricky part at the end, with that random D there. You're going to be able to play the last line just fine. So we're going to go ahead and try it with the recording. At this point, if you think that you need to pause and practice the whole thing, please do so. You want to try it and you're like, oh, that was a disaster. And then you want to pause and try it again and practice and then try it again with me, totally fine. Do what you got to do to learn it. Use EEI and slow it down. Use a metronome and slow it down. Totally fine.
42.
42.
Old MacDonald had a farm.
Don't forget to repeat that first line. Red, C, and go. G, 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 D, E. Look ahead. Be ready for B. One finger. B. A, G. Rest. Rest. Now D. Beginning. Measure 1. Look ahead. B. One finger. B. A, G. Careful here. Rest. Rest. D. Second line. G, G, G. Rest. G, G, G. Rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now D. Last line. G, G, D, E, E, D. Rest. B, B, A, G. Okay, practice that as much as you need to. Now, right now, you may or may not realize this, but all that echoing I had you do in previous videos that you probably got annoyed with, you're like, woman, can't we just learn the stupid song? Why do we gotta do this? That was helping you. Did you notice how many times you have to go from D to G and back and forth? All that stuff that we did to build up your agility has now helped you. If you skipped that, you're probably going to struggle a little bit with this. You'll be able to get it, but it's going to take you a lot longer than everyone that did everything on the videos. So all the stuff that in all my videos that I'm doing It's all progressive, and what I'm doing has a purpose to it. So you might not recognize it, but it will have a purpose to what we're doing in the future. So make sure you're watching the videos completely through and doing everything in them, and even maybe a little extra practice, whatever you need to do to go for perfection. In our next video, we get to learn Jingle Bells, so that'll be a whole lot of fun.